So, good day, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join Epicenter on our live webinar today. Here at Epicenter, we focus our services on ensuring Oracle HCM Cloud integrates seamlessly within your IT system landscape. I'm Jacinda Gill, a marketing and sales consultant within Epicenter, and I will be moderating this webinar. Today, we'll be sharing how Epicenter supported a multinational company in deploying Oracle HCM Cloud in a fully integrated manner within their global system landscape. I'm very happy to introduce Jean-Bart Hebenar, Managing Partner of Epicenter and Head of Sales and Marketing, a self-styled integration enthusiast with extensive experience in the area of HR transformation and HR technology. Before we begin, I'd just like to take a moment to explain a few things on how this session will be held. Firstly, we will record this webinar, and a link to the recording will be sent to you after this webinar for future reference. Of course, you are then able to share the link with your colleagues who may also be interested in this topic, but were unable to join us today. All audio and video functions for participants are locked. So please, if you have any questions, use the Q&A functionality to jot down your queries. We will cover these at the end of the presentation. Jean-Bart will also be sharing his screen and has prepared a few slides in support of his presentation. If you're on a mobile device, you can easily zoom in to view the slides in more detail. And finally, the duration of this webinar is approximately 20 minutes, followed by a brief Q&A. With that, I will now hand over the time to Jean-Bart, who will guide you through the interesting customer journey of connecting a multitude of third-party payroll systems to Oracle HCM Cloud, supported by Epicenter's next-generation flexible integration tooling. Jean-Bart.
Thanks, Jacinda, for the introduction, and also a warm welcome from myself and a big thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar. It's actually nice to share some of the work that we occupy ourselves with on a daily basis, especially when these concern success stories, of course. So at Epicenter, we focus on Oracle HCM Cloud integrations, and often these are with third-party payroll systems, which tend pretty much to be the most common integration requirements that we face and that we have to pick up for our customers. So indeed, it's a customer journey in the wonderful world of Oracle HCM Cloud, which I will present today. And of course, we have various Oracle HCM customers who we support with their HR system requirements and their integrations. However, this use case is quite unique in the sense that the client's objective is to ensure that all employees in all countries will be recorded in the Oracle HCM Cloud system, and they must be fully aligned within the payroll system landscape. So they basically said whether the population in the different countries is big or small, the goal is to ensure that the entire workforce will be maintained primarily in Oracle HCM, making Oracle a true global system of record. So now, one of the most important business processes HR is often responsible for is payroll. And in many organizations, it's also considered as the most critical business process. And ensuring that the data that's stored in your HR system is fully aligned with the payroll system is fundamental in achieving solid, accurate, and high-value HCM data. Now, the manner in which I will present this use case can best be divided into the following topics. So we start off with the why, and I'll give you a brief overview of how the outcome of this program contributes to the overall corporate strategy. And this will answer the question why the organization has decided to invest time and resources. And then we'll move over to the how. So how was this program carried out? And here I'll dive into which considerations led to the approach which was chosen out of the many options out there, because obviously, as always, there are various options on the table to integrate Oracle HCM and payroll in all these different countries. And I'm sure you will quickly recognize the different approach types. We then move on to the third category, which concern the pitfalls. And here we look at some of the key challenges we faced and how we resolved these. Some of these were known and others were a complete surprise to us, and we had to move pretty quickly to resolve them, and avoid significant delays on our program delivery. So let us start with the why. Why did our clients embark on this journey to fully integrate their payroll systems with one global system of record? I only need two words to describe that: financial control. And the most significant cost to company for a client is workforce remuneration. And so the ability to have full control on the highest cost type out there, mainly the workforce compensation, is of great value. So if we need to reword this objective in a more business definition, you would end up with something like the ability to maintain auditable control of payroll compliance. Now, if we dissect this a little bit further by asking the question, so how do we control payroll compliance? The answer is easier said than done, but it basically comes down to ensuring that in-country leadership remains in line with the global compensation policies that HR is always so careful in defining and refining on a continuous basis. So let's not forget that compensation policies are directly based on the reservations that are made available at board level for workforce budgeting and planning. We're talking about key board level metrics here. Now, what better way to measure this compliancy than to gather the payroll results at local level and validating these with what has been approved and recorded in the HR system of record at global level? So in order to make this work, we need to record the same salary data in the HR system as in the payroll system. And by far, the best way to achieve that is through synchronizing this data in a fully automated fashion, which means building interfaces between the two. This then allows us to send across one consistent number from HR to payroll, and once payroll is processed, we return the payroll results back into HR for comparison and validation purposes. Of course, that's easier said than done, and this brings us to the how did we manage this? Now, as mentioned before, there were various approaches considered, and finally, only two were shortlisted. So the first shortlisted approach was the most straightforward one, which was working with a single global payroll provider, which had a single payroll system to support payroll services across all 85 countries which were in scope of this particular project. So building one master interface between Oracle HCM and the global vendor and adding on country-specific localizations to cater for very local payroll requirements. Now, the second approach was to keep in place the majority of the payroll systems and interface these with Oracle HCM Cloud. Now, in order to ensure that this approach was feasible, there was a strong need for a robust, flexible integration platform which would be able to handle such a large variety of payroll system integrations. To ensure cost control on this approach, the integration platform would need to facilitate a highly effective methodology where interfaces could be quickly deployed while still meeting a large number of payroll interface requirements. And this is where Epicenter was approached to discuss how our Fit for Cloud integration platform would be able to manage the build and deployment of so many payroll integrations, as well as support these after they go live, of course. So both options were thoroughly assessed, and it quickly became evident that the first option actually had to be dropped. It had to be dismissed. Now, why was that? Remember that the most important objective this program had to live up to was financial control. And the less manual intervention, the more control. So it turned out that the global vendors were not truly global in the sense that there's not one single payroll system from where you can process payroll services for all these different countries. Remember, 85, it's a high number. Now, obviously, there are global payroll vendors out there that work with either different payroll partners at local level or keep everything in-house, but still rely on a variety of systems to handle the payroll processing at country level. So again, there's no true single payroll system which handles the payroll processing pay slips across 85 different countries that were in scope. Now, other dismissal criteria was the fact that the fees charged for global services were astronomically high in comparison to working with smaller local vendors. And another concern there was the change management aspect. Implementing a global payroll solution meant that every single entity would be impacted. Every single entity would need to adapt to a brand new way of working. And this would obviously require a tremendous investment on change management. And finally, working with a single payroll vendor across the board meant stepping into a vendor lock-in deal, which for many obvious reasons is not an ideal situation you want to find yourself in. So the organization felt quite uncomfortable to have this much dependency on one single vendor for handling one of its most critical business processes. So this led to the second option, which was to interface all these third-party payroll systems with Oracle HCM Cloud. The concept was more or less to keep the payroll system landscape unchanged to a certain degree and not try and fix what is not broken. Now, in order to be as efficient as possible when scoping the integration program, a thorough assessment was required across the payroll landscape. So the outcome would provide answers to both functional and technical questions. For instance, where can we propose to consolidate payroll systems at country or even regional level? There are many examples out there of payroll vendors handling multi-country payroll services within the same system. For instance, a single vendor to handle Southeast Asia, or one payroll vendor for the Emirates, another covering various Latin American countries, and this all with the intent to reduce the number of payroll systems and keeping the integration cost reasonable. Now, another important assessment topic is the technical integration capability of the payroll systems. So to what extent is the payroll system able to automate incoming and outgoing data feeds? You would be surprised of the number of limitations we faced when technically assessing third-party HR and payroll systems. The bottom line is we needed a clear global payroll integration strategy to ensure that the large number of external payroll systems are fully integrated with Oracle HCM Cloud while still ensuring that cost factors are kept low. So to overcome this, we strictly adhered to the stepping stones. We transitioned to strategic payroll vendors in key markets, significantly shrinking our pool of payroll vendors, and as a result, the number of interfaces to be built and resources needed for the project from all sides. And when I say all sides, I mean the payroll vendor side, the clients, from our side, from Epicenter side, of course. Now, we implemented Fit for Cloud to be the single integration hub to manage data flows between all systems from a technical perspective. So Fit for Cloud allows data from all systems to be able to speak to each other and act as the main port of call for all payroll systems. So using Fit for Cloud, we were able to configure integrations and not have to bother with coding interfaces, which in many cases accelerated the build phase. We were also able to reuse pre-built interfaces to leading payroll systems, which we had deployed for previous customers within the Oracle HCM community. And that allowed us to speed up even more. Now, some of the key challenges we faced during this program is that many payroll systems were not equipped with sufficient import or export programs able to handle the up and download of data. And this was a serious risk and drove us to making sure that going forward, we would thoroughly assess the technical integration capabilities of the payroll systems before even considering these in scope of the project. If these systems were not capable of integrating in a modern fashion, the advice was simply to replace these systems with others that could do so. Another issue that we faced was misalignment of the data between Oracle HCM Cloud and the payroll system. Now, it's important to understand that Oracle HCM had actually been implemented and had been live at our client for quite some time before the payroll interface program was introduced, which naturally led to a disconnect between the two systems. So before you can turn on a bidirectional interface, you always need a baseline alignment between the systems, and therefore a need for realigning the data with a light form of data migration. And we like to call this data realignment. And a lesson learned here was to, if possible at all, ensure the payroll integration goes live at the same time the global HR system is deployed. Another important element that came into play here is to use the same integration platform, which was in this case Fit for Cloud, to realign the data, simply because this is where the design of the interface already existed, and therefore it was reusable to support the compare and migration exercise. And finally, resource availability. Really important here. When working on a program like this, it is so important to make sure you have the commitment of the payroll vendors and your local HR and payroll teams to dedicate people to the project. Because without their support, the program is literally lost and nowhere. So by implementing Fit for Cloud, it enabled our clients to audit payroll data from all parts of the world in a single tool and obtain more control on compensation compliancy across all entities. By aligning this data globally in HR and local payroll systems, we ensured that data quality supports reliable HCM analytics, as well as eliminating manual multi-data entry. Of course, a successful project depends on the contributions of all stakeholders involved. We were blessed with having board level sponsorship for this program, which we had to rely on time and again. And it also helped that we were able to deploy our experienced Oracle HCM Cloud experts that in many cases had a great deal of payroll integration knowledge. The fact that we were able to use our integration hub enabled an accelerated approach to this technically complex integration project. Now, Fit for Cloud is specifically built to handle common integration projects within the Oracle domain. And what also helped tremendously was the fact that we were able to leverage our library of pre-configured interfaces. Remember, these are interfaces which we had built before within the Oracle HCM community and have a very high reusability factor. All in all, combining dedicated technology and resources on Epicenter side with the right attitude, dedication, and sponsorship on our client side resulted in a guaranteed success and a true representation of what a good partnership between client and suppliers can bring. And that takes me to the end of this presentation, and I will hand over to Jacinda to check if we have any questions. Jacinda, do we have any questions lined up?
So thank you, Jean-Bart, for the insightful presentation. We actually do have some questions lined up. Someone's asking, where does Fit for Cloud reside? Does it have its own hosting platform?
No, it doesn't. It's on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So The Fit for Cloud application, the integration platform, fully resides on OCI, formerly known as IaaS. And therefore, we did that for a good reason, so that it would remain on the same, within the same domain, the Oracle domain, and actually sitting on the same data centers as our Oracle HCM Cloud customers run their Oracle HCM Cloud applications on.
Okay, and on the topic of Oracle, do you use Oracle Payroll Interface, which is supplied with HCM Cloud itself?
Yes, that's GPI, Global Payroll Interface. We certainly do use a GPI there where we can. Now, often, remember in the presentation I mentioned that we interface to payroll systems. Often these are not payroll systems, they're actually HR systems powered by a payroll engine. And in many cases, we had to work with more HTML extract derived templates as opposed to GPI, because GPI is really purely focusing on payroll integration. And sometimes we had additional requirements that required additional data fields that weren't necessarily payroll related that we had to interface anyway. So yeah, long way of saying yes, we do there where we could. GPI was used indeed.
Okay, and what is about the average time of deployment for a pre-configured interface?
Average deployment of a pre-configured interface ranges anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, and that's leap time. Like I said, pre-configured interfaces are configured interfaces ready to go. We like to refer to them as plug and play with a little fine tuning in the middle. So usually the testing of all the transactions, making sure that the interface runs properly is the most time consuming. So say anywhere between 2 and 3 weeks.
Okay, and there's another question coming in. Where do employees see their payslips, in HCM Cloud or in a third-party application?
In a third-party payroll application, no, it would always be, in our situation, would always be in Oracle HCM Cloud. So when we integrate to the third-party payroll system, we receive an e-pay slip, load that back into the document of records on the Oracle HCM Cloud side, and there it becomes available in the via employee self-service, for instance, so that employees
Mhm.
can access that pay slip themselves, but usually through the HCM Cloud application.
Okay, and just coming back to the case study that we were talking about before, how was this specific program rolled out? Was it in different phases or was it just like one big bang?
Oh, no, definitely a phased approach. So different stages across a time frame of, let's say, 2 years. We had to prioritize, order the manner in which we rolled out by country, by region, often by region, where we would really start in key markets and then deploy our integrations, especially to those payroll interfaces where a multi-country deployment was supported. So definitely, yeah, phased approach, big project, phased approach.
Great. Um, okay, I think that that is actually all the questions we have for today. But before we end our webinar today, we would just like to show you a short animation video about Epicenter's integration as a service. Jambar?
Yes.
No matter how specific or intricate your HR integration requirements are, Epicenter's managed integration services on Oracle Cloud has got you covered. Because no one needs outdated, bad quality, double entry data. But our next generation integration tooling can help organizations improve the quality of their HR data to unlock its strategic value. Our service comes with a pay-as-you-integrate subscription model and incorporates a global library of turnkey interfaces. Managed integration services is scalable and cost-effective from the very first interface implemented and maintained, giving you the opportunity to leverage a proven, fully configured interface solution with data mapping and conversion that are suited to your Oracle HCM integration needs. With Epicenter, you are warranted for tomorrow's requirements today. Interested? Get in touch today to find out more.
And this concludes our webinar today. Jombar and I hope you have enjoyed your time with us and were able to take away something valuable. Epicenter actually hosts these webinars regularly, and if you are interested in learning when our next webinar will take place, please do follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you very much again for your participation, and I hope everyone has a great week ahead.
Thanks, everyone.